Gayatri Mahamantra with your back straight, both hands on your laps, left beneath the right. Om Bhura Bhuva Swaha Tatsaviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yona Prachodayat. Invocation of the Divine Master, Adiguru Muni Ved Vyas. Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Deva Maheshwara, Guru Deva Sakshat Parabrahma Tasmai Shri Guruve Namo Namaha. Akhand Mandala Karam Vyaptam Yena Characharam Tatpadam Darshitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namo Namaha. Om Shri Guruve Namo Namaha. Avahayami Sthapyami Vyas Rupen Sthapyami Dhyayami Pujyami Tato Namaskaram Karomi. Shrimad Bhagavad Gita, chapter number 8, Akshar Brahma Yoga, shlok number 24, that also aspires to cover the essence of shlok number 23 as well. The mentioning started from shlok number 23 onwards, that when a soul shall depart from this mortal plane during such and such moment, at such and such interval of the year, and such position of the moon, waxing or waning, then the soul shall certainly undergo its total dissolution, shall merge into the Creator, the Brahma. The ultimate objective of human manifestation is emancipation, mokshartha. And if otherwise, the soul shall depart from this mortal plane on a different moment, that we shall come into with the details in short while, then it shall certainly be acquired by the cycle of rebirth. Acquired, ACQI, acquired by the cycle of rebirth. Now, when we undergo the study of the verse number 24 and we try to analyze the position of the sun, moon, the interval of the year, etc., and its direct relation with a soul to ultimately cherish its ultimate objective, there are certain questions that do come up into the mind. So before I take the questions, let us directly come to the verse, study the verse, understand the meaning, and then go beyond the meaning into that expansive aspect of its pervasiveness. Because each word, if understood only with the sight of a meaning, shall belittle the pervasiveness of the meaning, the essence that it entails. So let us go with the shlok first. With me, those attending this live class through YouTube shall be able to see the slide, but on the Facebook, I believe it may not be possible. Shlok number 24 mentions Agni, Jyoti, Aha, Shukla, Shanamasaha Uttarayanam, Tatra Priyata. There are 5 considerates that have been mentioned. Number 1 is the Agni, fire. Number 2 is the Jyoti, light, lamp. Lamp means light. Ahaha is the time of the day. Shukla, Shukla is the, if you understand, from full moon to no moon, waxing and waning. With full moon, thereafter, it is waning. But beyond the no moon, it is waxing. So, waxing and waning, both the aspects of the moon have been mentioned. Shukla means when beyond no moon, when the journey starts towards gathering more and more moon by every passing day. Then the 5th considerate is the Shanamasa, 6 months, Uttarayanam, northward. Now, to understand it thickly, not going by the ancient Indian way of calculating the time through Panchang, let us understand thickly as January to June as being mentioned as northward, and from July to December being mentioned as southward. Uttarayan, Dakshinayan. This is a thick mention. Although the dates may vary each year, the time, the movement may vary each year, but yet, for the thick understanding, we will take this January to June and July to December as the 2 compartments of 1 year. And here we talk about the first one, that is from June to January to June, termed here as Uttarayan, northward. Tatra Priyata, one that shall relinquish this mortal plane, depart from here, Gachanti, shall travel, shall certainly travel towards the total dissolution. Brahma, Brahmavidaha, Janaha. Those who are into the stream of understanding the Brahma shall certainly undergo its total dissolution. They shall merge into the Creator. Nothing thereafter. No further entrapment into the cycle of birth and death. No, they will not be confined to that cycle of confining to the mother's womb again, and then again that karmic impacts casting their impacts upon them. No, now they are not under the impel of the nature. Now they have relinquished themselves, degravitated. They have now bailed out forever into that blissful state which cannot be mentioned through the words. What it is, how it is, only they shall understand, those who have been there, or those who are there, or those who ever come for a special objective to cherish on this planet and then again go back there. Anyway, I will not get into that because this itself will again lead to a further deliberation where people may have different understanding. One point viewpoint may absolutely differ from the another one. So not going into that, let us confine to only this aspect which mentions that if a soul departs, if a being relinquishes this mortal plane during this moment of the time, then it shall undergo total dissolution, emancipation. Now here, the mentioning of these five considerates, before that there is a question that creeps up into the mind. Does it mean that all those people who departed, or whom I know as my own, with my own personal experience, I was known to them very well, they were known to me very well, they departed between January to June? Do you mean to say that all those people emancipated? Whereas, according to my understanding, few of them were not able enough to be considered for emancipation. They were still absolutely indulged into all these mundane clingings, and they were not to be considered detached from any aspect. Do you mean to say that merely dropping this mortal plane, this particular body, during January to June, or the way it has been mentioned as the summer solstice, as Uttarayan, do you mean to say that those who drop their mortal plane in summer solstice shall undergo dissolution? My experience informs me that those whom I can figure out with my experience, if I recall past 5 to 10 years, all of them cannot be considered to be mature enough to that state. Then, what do you mean to say? Does the mentioning of the verse goes wrong? Or there is something more to be understood? Yes, there is something more to be understood. It obviously means that these considerates are indicators. They are symbolic indication towards a larger essence which is more pervasive, and that must be understood. If not understood into the larger perspective or in a more pervasive aspect, the belittled understanding which we shall draw otherwise from the words shall confine us to either set aside the scripture or to merely dogmatically believe that anyone who shall depart during this period of the year shall undergo total dissolution. Scriptures cannot mislead, they never mislead. They are immutable scriptures beyond any scope of any further mutation. Therefore, we must graduate to that level where we can comprehend or at least try to encompass some aspect of their indication. Now, going by this particular word, out of five considerations, the first one is Agni, fire. What does fire have to do with this? If you're talking about summer solstice, do you mean to say that scorching heat? Not exactly. Not exactly to that alone. Fire here should also be understood as that undying, resolute, indomitable will, the true will, which shall never die down. You cannot ever extinguish that fire. It is insatiable. That insatiable fire, that quest within to somehow evolve despite of countless failures, not counting the number of failures, but trying to cite the hope thereafter to make another attempt. Are we talking about that fire? Who is the symbol of fire among Pandavas? Arjuna. Whom does Krishna share a very special attention and bonding? Arjuna. Arjuna, the one who has that insatiable fire, the one who, with absolute clarity, has now to take the charge of the Gandiva. What is the Gandiva? Your will to undergo sadhana, the undying spirit to undergo sadhana with your back straight, not falling with one fall or countless fall. You will not fall. Let the falls be a moment to rise again. Those who consider that insatiable fire as Agni are those that fulfill the first considerate. Beside that, we study this scripture, this particular verse, we also have to figure out where do we stand. Yes, of course, we may not be mature enough at all, not only in this life, maybe a few more to come, to be considered for the total dissolution into Brahma. I admit that at my own individual level. You can do that at your own end. But at least we must know with clarity and the rightful aspect then what does this verse need to convey, wants to convey. The aspiration of the verse is to somehow extend some luminosity to all us the seekers, that we should evaluate ourselves, our stature at the moment, and then try to inculcate and develop and cultivate all those missing aspects within us. Agni is for insatiable quest. Those who bear that insatiable quest are the ones that fulfill the first one. Take on one. Jyoti means light, luminosity, radiance, the light of understanding. The light of understanding with such a far sighted wisdom where the intellect has graduated, transformed into pragya, where its considerates now can discern, discriminate, and distinguish between the Atma and the Anatma, the Nitya from Anitya, something that shall perish, and what is that shall stay forever. When you're able to discriminate and distinguish between the both, and then determine your priorities and conduct of life, that is the true light. That is when you can say that now the I have lighted the lamp is now lighted, ignition undergone. That's the true lamp, true light of understanding, wisdom, true wisdom. In general, our lives are governed by our priorities, determined by mostly impulsive and instinctive seekings. It's seldom that people are governed and driven by such a seeking of lofty in nature that prioritize consciousness above all, the Chetana above all. It's generally the non conscious aspects which are mostly into the material possessions, material possessions or something which probably shall die out with the age on this mortal plane, that become our priorities. So, Jyoti is the light of understanding. Ahaha is the word which has been denoted for the daytime. Daytime? What is the daytime? As Bhagavad Gita in different verses already mentioned, what that shall be a day for a yogi should be considered as night for a commoner. And what that is a day for a commoner should be considered as the night for a yogi. It's not about the day and night by the sun and moon, but instead of that, it's about the priorities of life, the basic governing factors of life. A yogi shall always be awakened, aware, vigilant about certain issues that leads toward emancipation. For him, those subjects bring day. and those that lead towards indulgence bring to him the night, the darkness. So for him, the effulgence and the darkness as a understanding to be drawn from the priorities, the driving factors of the life. What matters to him most is that all leads towards emancipation, and all that draws him away from emancipation is darkness, is night for him. And for a commoner, it is vice versa, contrarian to that. Now, what is day? A day is when your own determinants, your discerning values have now prioritized towards emancipation. You're more aware towards the issues that lead towards more of aspects in conscious state of your privilege and not otherwise, not into darkness. Then comes the Shukla. Shukla means when after no moon, the moon starts gathering its size. By every passing day, it adds on. The piece becomes bigger. So it's about evolution, it's about inner growth, not about losing growth, but gaining growth by every passing day. So, Shukla, the movement after no moon towards full moon, because we want the Purnata, we want the entirety, we want completeness to come. We have to experience that completeness, that blissful completeness. And here the moon becomes a symbol for that too. People, those who have now embarked upon the inner journey with that insatiable fire, with that wisdom of true wisdom of understanding, and the subjects that lead towards inner growth are the day to them. Those who have now embarked upon the journey towards growth by every passing day now shall be able to traverse through what? Shanamasa, 6 months of Uttarayan, summer solstice, that is northward. What are those 6 months? Can we not draw a reference of the six vital centers in our body, the subtle centers? We term them as chakra, starting from Mooladhara to Swadhisthana to Manipur to Anahat to Vishuddhi and Agya, and thereafter it is Brahmarandra, Sahasrar. Yes, to an extent, we can certainly draw this indication when we have embarked upon understanding the journey of a soul towards its final destination. We can certainly consider it's not exactly about Kundalini Jagran. The six centers, or the mentioning of six masa or six center northward towards summer solstice, is not only a confinement to Kundalini, but for the evolution that our pranic energy through our Sushumna, of course, aided by Pingala most of the time thereafter. Ida, of course, was also a considered, but Pingala and Sushumna, they further lead towards the total prana to move upward towards ascension, whereby the true objective shall be achieved after a limit of time. What is time to be considered here as? Adiguru Shankaracharya has very rightly mentioned in order to remove any kind of ambiguity when it comes to fire and light. He said fire and light to be considered with the aspect of time, which means a state. When such a state transpires within a seeker, whether such a state is acquired within a seeker, when such a state manifests within a seeker, when such a state is gathered ground within a seeker, that should be understood as fire and lamp. He has unlocked the key. Otherwise, going and drawing the meaning merely from the word would have confined our understanding, whereby the belittled narrative could have been drawn. But here, we now, after becoming unlocked by the Adi Guru Shankaracharya, we now get a pervasive understanding which holds a lot of expansiveness into it. Yes, it talks about inner evolution, it talks about inner growth, and the journey is all interiorized. It's within a seeker that all happens, where Agni is a state, where Jyoti is a state, the Aha also is a state, Shukla and Shanamasa Shukla is a state, but Shanamasa Uttarayanam is the movement upward, ascension. When a seeker embarks upon a journey with all of energies moving upwards, from these all vital centers going towards the Sahasrar, one should consider that now a seeker shall not come back. Don't confine your understanding to Kundalini itself, because there are so many falls in that too. People who may have graduated with the ascension of energy upwards, merely confined to the aspects of the centers like chakra, may have equally led to a fall. May I am saying, not for all, but may have led to a fall. So there is no surety for that, no certitude for that. Whereas the verse mentioned over here is for those to whom ascension is now the mandate, and that only comes when through a graduate upward journey, evolution, the seeker shall not come back. It's like traveling on a one-way ticket, which is non-refundable, no coming back, but merely going upward. The basic aspect that needs to be drawn, the takeaway from this verse is to consider these five determinants mentioned here as not only the period of time when a soul shall depart and then achieve its ultimate objective of manifestation, but to understand the expansive aspect of these determinants as the inner state that ensure that now the seeker shall not return, shall certainly qualify and then merge into the blissful state of the Creator itself. By going by the understanding drawn now, I think it's a moment for us to evaluate and assess where do we stand, to what extent this insatiable fire has come into us, what are the extents to which we have that wisdom whereby we can now discern through our own wisdom the priorities of life. Have those vital issues become the day to us that leads towards inner growth, true inner growth? Are we on a journey whereby every day we are inching ahead? Is there a change in our own nature? Do we experience a change in our nature? Have we undergone a change in our behavioral aspects? Is there a change in our instinctive aspects? Or still we are governed by exclusive impel of impulsive instincts? Now that is an introspection that we must do in an unbiased form so as to conclude where do we stand. If there is a change in us, not necessarily that some paranormal faculty must awaken within. No, 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 not necessary at all. These paranormal faculties, understood as siddhis, they certainly awaken, but they equally may die down or may lead towards bonding, karmic bondage. Whereas the true change in one's own perception, perceptory ends, the expansiveness which comes to one's understanding, the accommodativeness, is the true mark of inner growth that ensures that the seeker for sure has grown. Maybe not from the aspects of paranormal faculties, but certainly, yes, when it comes to the aspects of awareness, the growth of the awareness towards awareness, more of growth towards our own awareness. Excuse me. So, going back this aspect, we have to evaluate and for ourselves determine our own score from 1 to 10. Where do we stand? Maybe the understanding drawn from this verse shall be an addition to our existing understanding that we already beheld about this particular verse. More to come in the next verse, in the next class. ओम ही सत्य है, ओम ही सत्य है, ओम ही सत्य है.